Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to another A Beginner's Guide to. This time we're looking at Gardevoir EX, and if I sound a bit weird, I've only been awake for half an hour and my partner's still asleep upstairs, so I'm trying to be a bit quieter than normal. That's why the mic is right in my face. We're looking at Gardevoir EX, as I just said. This is toward Redclav's list. I believe it came second at the World Championship. It did come second. I don't know why I have to say I believe. It's a very fun deck, and it's a very simple concept of deck as well, which actually, I want to say it's quite simple to play, difficult to master, which is a lot of decks in the format currently, and also consistency is a thing, and I think this deck list is probably one of the best for consistency in the current format. So let's talk about the main cards, shall we? So first of all, you are building up towards Gardevoir EX, but there are notable cards on the way. This is probably like the most detailed deck I'm going to have to talk about because of all the different functions of all the different cards. So we'll start from the bottom and get to the top. First of all, we're playing with Ralts, Kirlia and Gardevoir. This is a stage 2 deck, and unlike a lot of the stage 2 decks, you don't really want to skip up to stage 2 straight away. Like, for example, Charizard, Excalibur and Champow. You don't want that middle evolution, you want to just get up to the top ASAP. This is actually like a deck that benefits from getting their second evolution out. Let's talk about Ralts. We play 3 of these, 70 HP Psychic Pokemon, has the attack, Teleportation, Burst, 10 damage, switches Pokemon, one of your bench Pokemon. Not really relevant, it's not really one that gets used much. The one that does get used is this one, Ralts HP 60. We have Memory Skip for 1 Psychic and 10 damage. Choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks. During your opponent's next turn, that Pokemon can't use that attack. It was mostly in there, if I remember right, for a Alolan Vulpix, which has an attack that says Pokemon with abilities can't do damage to this Pokemon, because all of the Pokemon in this deck have ability attackers. And Path to the Peak works to turn off Zacian V and Gardevoir EX, but doesn't turn off Gardevoir, the baby Gardevoir, so it's still a bit of an issue. It's not really just easy to path yourself, basically. Onto the Kirlias, we're using 3 of these Kirlias, 80 HP Pokemon with the ability Refinement. You must discard a card from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may draw 2 cards. Long-time players of the game will remember this ability as Trade. Every so often, because I'm quite new to the game still, people will go, using Trade, blah, blah, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, yeah, of course, it's Refinement. Learning like the different words for like what people use for even current abilities is ridiculous. It requires a video of itself, basically. We also run 1 Kirlia with 80 HP. It has the attack Mirage Step for 1 Psychic Energy. Search your deck for up to 3 Kirlia, put them onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. And it's fun. Every time I've seen this come up or this attack be used, even if it's like against me, effectively, it's really funny to watch. I actually had this happen in a League Cup that happened this past weekend. It was great. My opponent started Ralts. I think they went first as well, so you know they were relatively okay. I was playing Arctina, so I wasn't really threatening a turn 2 attack or turn 1 attack. So loaded up my Arceus, got everything ready. You know, did everything I needed to. Goes back to his turn before he drew his card, slaps down the Kirlia with Mirage Step and finds the rest, because all he had was Ralts. If he had nothing else, he would have been absolutely screwed. So it does come up, and I think it's really fun for setup. When I first started playing with Gardevoir back in March, we had proxies sorted for that kind of thing. I saw the Mirage Step Kirlia and absolutely loved it. Also used it my first time ever, and all 3 of my other Kirlia were prized, so that was great. But it is an important card, and it has been explained by other people. Basically, it's quite important to have the Refinement Kirlias available for quite a while, because you do want to get rid of all your Psychic Genji. Obviously, you can evolve them up to Gardevoir at a moment's notice, and sometimes it benefits you to have like your Kirlia probably going to get knocked out, have 3 more, then 2 Ralts down, ready to rare candy straight into something else. So it does come up, and I think it's like a really good card in this as well. So that's your setup Pokemon. We also have 2 Gardevoir. It's funny, this deck runs like you can almost look at it and go, why is there 3 separate lines of stage 2? But they all interact, and it works out really well. First Gardevoir we have is the Psychic 140 HP. We have 2 very important things here. We have ability Shining Arcana. Once during your turn, you may look at the top 2 cards of your deck and attach any number of basic energy cards you find there to your Pokemon in any way you like. Put the other cards into your hand. So without anything else, if this hits 2 energy plus your manual attachment, you're already going to be hitting for 150 with Gardevoir. With the attack Brainwave, 3 energy cost, 60 plus HP. This type does 30 more damage for each Psychic Energy attached to this Pokemon. Which, as I just explained, 150 with the Shining Arcana plus manual sounds like not a lot, but there are plenty of cards in this deck that help you get to those big numbers. And one of those is Gardevoir EX. Ability Psychic Embrace. As often as you like during your turn, you may attach a basic Psychic Energy from your discard pile to one of your Psychic Pokemon. If you attached energy to a Pokemon in this way, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. You can't use this ability on a Pokemon that would be knocked out. So, Shining Arcana hits, you've got your manual attach, that's 3 energy, 150. You can still add 6 more energy to this Gardevoir with the other Gardevoir's ability and be swinging for massive damage, and it doesn't get knocked out. Like, it is ridiculously good. And then we also have the attack, which doesn't really get used, but it does come up sometimes. Miracle Force, 2 Psychic Energy, 1 Colorless for 190 damage. This Pokemon recovers from all special conditions. So yeah, it's an absolute powerhouse of a deck. It's absolutely fantastic play, and it's got a very simple game plan, but like I said, it is difficult to master. Sometimes you do have to kind of go, I'm accepting that I have to get this set up in like 2 turns or 3 turns, whereas everybody else is setting up in 1 turn. It's an interesting deck. It rewards patience, I think. So we've got 2 other attackers in this deck. We have Zacian V, and you'll notice the attack is very similar to another one. Zacian V, 220 Psychic Pokemon with the ability Roar of the Sword. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for a Psychic Energy card and attach it to one of your Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. If you use this ability, your turn ends. So it is quite a helpful setup card for going first, because you can't attack anyway. You might as well get 2 attachments out of it. And Storm Slash, 60 plus damage, 3 colorless attack. This attack does 30 more damage for each Psychic Energy attached to this Pokemon, so same as the Gardevoir, but it can hit for even more because you can actually attach 10 energy to this Pokemon in one go. It is kind of ridiculous, but it's very fun. And one of our specialty attackers, Cresselia, 120 Psychic Pokemon. We're using the attack Moonglow Reverse. Move 2 damage counters from each of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. That is a 1 psychic attack. Sorry about the jingles, my cat decided to have a scritch. So yeah, basically the way you're using this attack is if you've got a full board of Psychic Pokemon, which isn't unlikely, you put a energy on each of them for the 2 damage counters from Gardevoir's ability, and then just move them all to anything on the bench. So if there's something back there that's benefiting them, take it out. It's fantastic. It's a really good little attack. 120 health is a little bit awkward as well because Cramorant's not knocking it out. It's a really good card, especially against Lost Box. Onto our utility, we have 1 more Psychic Pokemon in Mew with the ability Mysterious Tail. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may look at the top 6 cards of your deck, reveal an item card you find there, and put it into your hand, shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So very important for setup, especially if you're looking for those Battle VIP passes, level balls, etc, etc. We have Radiant Greninja with the ability Concealed Cards. You must discard an energy from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may draw 2 cards. So again, much like the Refinement, it's great to just get rid of those energy cards. Sometimes you don't even need it, especially if you can get 3 Kirlia set up early. Manaphy, we literally there just for the bench barrier to protect Pokemon on the bench. Prevent all damage done to your bench Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. It's one of those cards that's, when you first start playing, you're like, why would I not play it down? I want to avoid all bench damage. And then learn much later, it's like, it's only relevant in certain matches, but it's always great to have. Always sad to see it get, like, refinemented, because, like, oh, look at the little Manaphy trying its best, and everyone's like, nah, refinement, draw 2. It's so sad. And finally, and it's a bit more of an unusual addition, I think, Luminion V. We're once again playing it for the ability Luminous Sign. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. It's a very good card, and I've really only been using Luminion as like a game ending card. It's like I need to just find boss's orders, Luminion, boss, the game. But it's probably helpful if you're having a really bad start. And one of the things I've started learning a bit more as well while I've been playing this game is these kind of cards like Luminion, like Squawkabilly, I've had like a bit of a like hate for them because I'm like, I don't want to leave just like a weak ass 2 prizes on the bench because, you know, that helps the opponent. But it's amazing how many people use it as like a distraction, as like, oh, that's there, I can just take 2 prizes, not realizing they've just like given you everything you need to get set up. So it's not as a it's not a dangerous card like I used to think it was. Onto our item cards, and we have many balls here. Let's talk about our balls. We have Ultra Ball. You can use this card only if you discard 2 other cards from your hand, search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Again, great getting rid of those Psychic Energies into the discard. 4 level balls, search your deck for a Pokemon with 90 HP or less, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. So Ralts and Kirlia are both less than 90 HP, so very good to find those early on. Not technically a ball, but it's shaped like one. Fog Crystal. Search your deck for a psychic energy card or a basic psychic Pokemon. Reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Again, setting up your Ralts, finding your energies to discard later on. We have Battle VIP Pass. You can use this card only during your first turn. Search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon, put them onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. It's such a broken card for these kind of decks. It's going to be sad when they rotate out because I don't know what people are going to do. So let's talk about some of the more utility-based Pokemon cards. We have Lost Vacuum. You can only use this card if you put another card from your hand into the Lost Zone, choose a Pokemon tool attached to any Pokemon or any stadium in play and put it into the Lost Zone. So that is there to get rid of the Path to the Peaks. It's there to get rid of the, I imagine, now Vengeful Punches, to get rid of the Box of Disasters. It's a great utility card. It's got so many applications. Palpad, shuffle up to 2 supporter cards from your discard pile into your deck. You don't need to run 4 Boss's Orders when you can just shuffle them back into your deck. It's pretty much how that card works. As mentioned earlier, Rare Candy, choose one of your basic Pokemon in play. If you have a Stage 2 card in your hand that evolves from that Pokemon, put that card onto the basic Pokemon to evolve it, skipping the Stage 1. You can't use this card during your first turn or on a basic Pokemon that's put into play this turn. So it's very much a get your Kirlia set up, play down the Ralts, hope nobody bothers it, evolve it into Gardevoir next turn. Great little card to have. There's definitely like some pluses that could be done to make it a little bit better, but we won't talk about that for now. Super Rod, shuffle up to 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. You are going to be losing these Kirlias, so you are going to want to find them back. Stadiums, we have Artisan. Once during each player's turn, that player may search their deck for a basic Pokemon that doesn't have a rule box and put it onto their bench. Then that player shuffles their deck. So effectively, it's Nest Ball in a stadium. It's very nice to have. It's one of those cards that you're like, do I want to run this right now because it helps the opponent? Yeah, it's a bit awkward sometimes to decide when to use that. Collapse Stadium, each player can't have more than 4 bench Pokemon. If a player has 5 or more bench Pokemon, they discard bench Pokemon until they have 4 Pokemon on the bench. The player who played this card discards first. If more than one effect changes the number of bench Pokemon allowed, use the smaller number. So if you've played down Luminion early, you've had to get it for the setup. You got 5 on the bench, and Luminion's there as a bit of a, that might get destroyed. Play down the Collapse Stadium, discard the Luminion, and it works the same with Zacian as well. If Zacian's like basically a vulnerable prize right now because it's been hit for 180 and it can't really have any energy attached to it, you can then just get rid of the Zacian. It almost works like a healing card if you use it in the right way. It's a very, very fun card to have. Supporters, this deck only runs 3 different supporters. 2 Boss's Orders, switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. Love the Boss's Orders. Iono, 3 of these. Each player shuffles their hand and puts it onto the bottom of their deck. If either player puts any cards on the bottom of their deck in this way, each player draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards. And 2 Professor's Research, discard your hand, draw 7 cards. Brilliant card, very broken according to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic players. And finally, for items, we have Forest Seal Stone. This gives a Pokemon V the ability Star Alchemy. During your turn, you may search your deck for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. It's basically a half-powered Arceus, and it's usable under Path. So you got a few ways to get out of Path here, which is nice because the deck does want to use Psychic Embrace quite a lot. Energy counts, we have 10 Psychic Energy, but more importantly, we have 2 Reversal Energy. As long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides 1 colorless energy. If you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, if this Pokemon is attached to an evolution Pokemon that doesn't have a rule box, this card provides every type of energy, but provides only 3 at a time. That Gardevoir that we mentioned earlier, if it hits the Shining Arcanas, you've got 2 Psychic Energy on there. You throw a Reversal Energy on there, you've suddenly got 5 energy on there, and you can see how the math starts like ramping up in how much damage it can do. It went from a Pokemon that had like not a low damage cap, but it was like quite low if it was just Psychic Embracing, to like a huge one. I've seen people run 2 Reversal Energies on Gardevoirs and things like that, and it's just like, what do I do? And while they're doing that, Psychic Embrace is happening on a different Pokemon, so even if one goes down, the other's got coverage. It's absolutely wild. It's such a fun card. So there we go, there is Gardevoir EX. I'm no expert on what you would like to add to this deck. I've seen people run some weird stuff in Gardevoir lists, but this is definitely like probably one of the best ones that I've seen. Obviously, it came second in Worlds. And it's not one that I'm an expert on, even though I had like a huge excitement for it when it first got announced. But it's one I'm looking at revisiting at some point. I think it was the it was the first proper stage 2 and first proper like EX deck that everyone like jumped behind and went, yes, this is good, we need to start playing this. So yeah, there we go. Any suggestions on more decks to cover, you're more than welcome to drop them in the comments and I'll take a look at them. I will try and revisit some of the decks we've mentioned before as well, because there are definitely ones that have been updated a fair bit as well. But until the next one, guys, thank you very much for watching. All my social media links are in the description below. If you liked this video, please do consider subscribing. It helps out the channel so much. And I have to say all the things the YouTubers say. And until the next one, guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you in that next one. See ya.